Okay, so it is the weekend. Let's get ready by looking at Mara, analyzing the charts, and preparing for a solid next trading week because it is much better to look at the most probable pathways. So we're not just prepared for the fluctuations, but we are not surprised for how it unfolds. So I'm having a great Saturday, guys. Great weekend kicking off. I hope you guys are as well. So let's go ahead and get started and keep it going. So on the last Mara video, on the last one, I said it's very possible that Mara can be working its way up to potentially, this is just my opinion, to potentially hit $20, even $20.50. Right now, what we're seeing is fluctuation within this fib extension. Now, we do have, and we got to keep in mind, this coming up week, there is a CPI report. I've been talking about this for a while. It's very, very important to understand that because every fluctuations we see from now to that report, it can be setting up in multiple ways. I'm going to get into that in a moment as well. But just some basic stock market news, tariffs are building up. There's more tariffs kicking out. Um, there's a mix between waiting for some negotiations, and then there's a mix between that tariffs being pushed back to August, as well as some more tariffs popping off. But besides that, we're still seeing a lot of optimism in the overall market. Like the S&P didn't really fall that a whole lot last trading session, and Bitcoin has just been holding very, very strong. So we just got to keep that in mind, right? This is gonna all be setting up for, and I'm gonna get into that moment for when that CPI happens. Now for Bitcoin, we're seeing, of course, a lot of inflows. If Bitcoin goes up, there's gonna be inflows regardless. So a lot of this news isn't really useful. But there is a lot of more background adoption happening. We're seeing a lot of the Bitcoin being taken out of supply. If you guys look at the Bitcoin supply and a demand map, basically, it's super strong. It's super solid, and it keeps dipping down, indicating that there is still a lot of interest in accumulating Bitcoin. So, with that being said, so you can get a better understanding of what's going on here, let's look at Bitcoin. So here we go, it loaded. Now, I'm going to go over Bitcoin because it's not just very important to go over it to better understand Mara, but as we're waiting for the CPI report to come out, I believe it's on the 15th, so possibly 3 days from now. Um, I think that's Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm not sure, but basically we're still within this green area, which means, and this is my opinion, I've said this so many times, the moment Bitcoin breaks into this green area, we're basically looking for an increase in FOMO, bullish momentum, just a lot more bullish liquidity flowing into Bitcoin, mainly because when we break into these specific price levels, that just triggers a large psychological element in investors and traders, and it creates um, an opportunity for Bitcoin to create higher lows and continue to break previous swing highs and uptrend a little bit more aggressively than just seeing sideways consolidation for a while, like we've seen here, and we've seen it here and multiple times in the past, right? So this is a very, very important level, psychologically based, as well value based, right? Because the amount of value Bitcoin is now holding, it increases, the likelihood of just bullish liquidity to push prices into other more important price levels above it, before the bulls exhaust themselves, at least in the short term, right? But I still believe 2025 has a lot more upside to go. Now, the way this influences Bitcoin is that I am still, I haven't changed these because we obviously haven't broken the swing high, but I am still looking for the possibility of hitting these imbalances within these these fib retracements. Now, because, and I've said this before, I've been trying to see if the price could come down into this imbalance and try to hit this orange fib retracement that overlaps with this green line right here for the extension for 14,500. We haven't seen it happen. Instead of Bitcoin creating a very obvious short-term bearish trend, instead it's holding sideways for a little bit, and as it continues to trade sideways, the RSI is now fair value, and it's going to very easily come down into discount. Now, I'm not saying that just because the price of the RSI, the indicator, comes down into over exhausted territory to the bottom side, it can still create more bearish momentum, and then that can finally let us trade within these fib retracements and create a much more reasonable swing high or swing low, higher low, and then push the price much higher. But because we haven't seen that happen yet, and we've been trading sideways for a while, I would not be surprised, and I'm keeping an eye on this because it's going to highly influence Mara as well potentially. Because the more Bitcoin stays strong, the better the Mara revenues, the better monthly reports and the quarterly earnings reports will look like. It will reflect very positively within the company as well, and that can influence some more stock purchasing under the ticker, right? So because we haven't come down yet, I do believe that Bitcoin can very easily make a new high, a new all-time high, stretch a little higher before it has a more reasonable dip. So from now and going forward, because I am trading ETFs, I can't trade ETFs on the weekend, obviously, when the NYSE is closed. But any small weakness, I do believe that Bitcoin can find a bottom above 114,500. It's very likely. It's this setup is a little too bullish, and I'm not saying that out of FOMO. I'm not saying that out of biasness. I'm just being very realistic, right? We are within a extension area that opens the understanding and the possibility that bullish momentum can increase very easily in the short term. So any weakness in Bitcoin can be amplified in Mara, and then that could potentially give us an opportunity to look at support levels within Mara as we allow this price to go much higher. Now, if you guys, and this isn't going to be, before I jump into Mara, this isn't going to be super significant, but simple fib extensions, they all get broken very well. And, it doesn't matter how you draw them. The price is showing, a lot of bullishness in that view as well. And if you guys like Elliott waves, well, I mean, I'm not really going to go over it too much because I'm more focused on momentum at the moment. Instead of, Elliott waves and how high they can go, because right now this structure just obliterates any understanding that I have, at least that I can currently see. So I'm more focused on momentum, like I said. So any small weakness in Bitcoin leading into the next trading week, I may add more to BitU a little earlier than I would like to, just because, again, I'm seeing that rather than trying to be hopeful and let it go higher. But I'm still gonna do 5K increments at a time, because we can still come into this area, but I want to begin accumulating at any weakness, especially if the price even just taps into this imbalance right here. I'm in, right? I'm gonna be purchasing. So let's take a look at Mara now. This is the whole reason I'm making this video. So any weakness within Bitcoin, any small weakness can amplify in Mara, because of course Mara is basically a leveraged leveraged option to invest in Bitcoin. It's not the best way because, again, Mara has a lot of elements. They run a business, they have expenses, they have a whole lot of things that differ value from Bitcoin, but it's still an option, right? It's still something there that everyone can at least do their own research on. But any weakness in Bitcoin, rather that's us coming down a little bit into imbalance or coming down a little bit more, trying to bottom out the 100 extension, the green one at 114.5K, or even just tapping into the 0.35 orange retracement at 114.8K. Basically, it doesn't matter. This will very much discount the RSI very aggressively, in my opinion. And it will also allow Mara to, I'm going to show you guys right now, it will allow Mara to come down into the discounted portion of this extension once again, to try to find support, and it allows the price to test this ascending support line that I just gave you guys just now. So we're going to update the retracement. As you can see, the retracement walls. It walls the 100% extension, blue one, 17.6K, and the 0.35 retracement in red at 17.6K. It's perfectly in line. There's strong support within this area. Also, if you guys just, look at this in a very basic point of view, usually if we start respecting a trend line, we want to see overall, multiple tests of this trend line. As we test the trend line, we also want to see other indicators like, right now the RSI is maxed out, but if we come down to this area, it will be discounted once again. It opens the opportunity for the RSI to max out once again, which will be at a higher price, and that will allow us to try to see if 20.6K, potentially we can say 20.5 to be more conservative, is a very strong resistance, right? So right now, Bitcoin, it's very reasonable for it to have a small retracement as it continues this bullish momentum. It will allow Mara to do the same thing. They all have their own support areas right now. Really, Bitcoin is mainly focused on imbalance and retracement, a little bit of the extension, while Mara is focused primarily on this ascending support line, which should hold above the red retracement and above 17.6, right? We want to see the price not just bottom out the RSI when it comes down into this area. We also want to see it hold it and try to reverse higher as Bitcoin does this thing now. And I'm going to say this because I've been following Mara for many, many years. Just because Bitcoin finds a bottom, and let's say Mara comes down, Bitcoin finds the bottom, and Mara is around this area, it does not mean that if Bitcoin pops higher and creates a new high, it does not mean that Mara has to also pop higher and create a new high within this structure. It does not have to happen. Again, Mara is a tech company. It's going to be highly influenced, just like Bitcoin, with the CPI report that's going to come out soon, but it will not be influenced exactly the same. You got to remember, these are very, very different tradable assets. So if we're just focused on Mara, forget about Bitcoin. We want to see how strong 17.6K really, really is. It's something that I just have to wait for. I have to come back to it once it happens and give you guys a new update and give you guys my new opinions on how healthy that support really looks like. So we're going to wait on that. We're going to see what's happening. But as of right now, I do believe Mara can easily come down to try to tap this ascending support line once again before it has the potential of going up higher. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on a few things. I will keep you guys updated. There's still upside for Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin holding above the first green line, it still has the momentum. It still has the possibility of it just coming up much, much higher. I easily believe that Bitcoin can break 120K before it finds a top, or at least a reasonable top before a significant correction happens. And any correction, in my opinion, can be very short-lived. But I just believe it has more upside. It's just, there's too much here. There's too much here telling me that there's a little bit more upside before a significant correction happens. We can have a small correction. I believe that will be very short-lived as well. But a significant, large percentage correction, I do believe it's just not ready for that. But we will see, right? I've been wrong in the past. I can be wrong again. But regardless, I plan to accumulate. I already told you guys I will not accumulate unless we see some weakness, even if it's a little bit. And I'm just going to continue to, add 5K increments at a time. With Mara, even if Bitcoin pumps from now, even if Bitcoin pumps leading into next week, Mara still has the opportunity to come down. We've seen Bitcoin pump and Mara come down in the past before. It's happened multiple times. It can happen once again. It will just allow Mara to, have a proper setup to continue the overall trend. And even if Bitcoin falls, Mara can go up. We've seen these two assets trade very differently in the past. It can continue to happen very, very easily. So once again, really, it all comes down to Mara having a reasonable retracement. Here, it's not going to be a major overall retracement. Even if it comes down lower, the 120 moving average is below $16.6. So it can even come down. The moment it goes into the red, I do believe it's up to you guys how seriously you want to take it, but I do believe that will be a last warning before it potentially goes higher. We have the overall momentum to do so. We finally filled in this imbalance right here. We have the opportunity to fill in the last imbalance. So we have that. We have that possibility. But we will see. Again, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, technically, a lot of this can change very, very easily. That's why I'm being very light with this right now, because the CPI can change things dramatically. And what I was trying to say in the earlier portion of this video before I end it, a lot of bullishness leading to very optimistic expectations. And we've seen this happen in the past when there's high optimism with expectations of a very important news headline in the market, and it doesn't meet those expectations to the max. Basically, a lot of this short-term bullish volume that not just went into Mara, not just went into Bitcoin, but a lot of this bullish short-term volume, as quickly as it went into the assets that we're looking at right here, it can very much as easily, very quickly exit the asset that we're looking at. So yeah, keep that in mind, guys. Let's be very careful with this week. Let's set ourselves up to take advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves. It's all about patience. It's all about not letting FOMO get to you. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.